Welcome to the ThunderCast, your martial athletics podcast produced by the fans, for the fans, with your hosts, Russ Livingood and KD Hudnall. We're bringing you the thundering word on the thundering herd each and every week, so keep it right here. The ThunderCast is on the loose. Thanks for downloading another episode of the ThunderCast. You can follow us on Twitter at ThunderCast_pod and head on over to Facebook. Give the page over there a like as well. And please go to the links in the description of every ThunderCast episode. A, go subscribe to the ThunderCast YouTube channel. And B and C, we make it really easy to join the Big Green, get involved that way, and to check out and get involved with the Thunder Trust if you would like to do that as well. So we got a lot in the descriptions as also, and we got links to all of our kick-ass sponsors as well in case you need their services, 304carrec.com and Ignite Link. Everything's in the description. But look, man, we've got a super busy week. We were talking just before we hit the record button. There's some major news that just happened like right after we got done recording and posted our show last week. So we're going to revisit some of that. It just did not even occur to me that we hadn't talked about it yet. So let's get into this. But first, let's get a quick word from our sponsors at 304carrec.com. If you've been hurt in a wreck, visit 304carrec.com on the web or on Facebook. You can't stop a bad driver from crashing into you and making you a victim. But when you're hurt and you try to deal with the insurance companies alone, you set yourself up to be a victim again. Don't be a victim twice. Jason and Matt can't protect you from bad drivers, but they can protect you from the insurance companies. Find them at 304carrec.com. Russ, it has been a busy is an understatement week. Let's say landmark. I don't think I've used landmark as an adjective yet when talking about the week in herd athletics, but it has been kind of sort of a landmark week this past week in herd athletics. So let's get it kicked off with, I don't know how many things, but at least 5 things every herd fan needs to know.
Yeah, so this week it will be actually 6 things every herd fan needs to know this week, as always brought to you by Ignite Link, the Tri-State's premier IT management team. Number 1, Tavion Kinsey gets another award. Maybe his last one that gets announced, we don't know, but he was named the Lou Henson All-American. And for those of you that don't know, Lou Henson awards go to mid-majors, and this is a great prestigious award, but we've got some thoughts on top of that as well.
Yeah, I do. I know where you're going to go with this, but first let's start out with the awesome news that he was named a Lou Henson All-American because, of course, what are you going to do? I mean, he obviously earned that with his play this year. That was kind of a no-doubter, in my opinion, and probably in the opinion of a lot of people across the country, obviously, because a lot of people are probably contributing to those votes and those awards. But yeah, I'm hoping that the next thing that we talk about with Tavion Kinsey will be where he lands at the next level, and we get to talk about that. But for right now, one of the final potentially awards or accolades that he'll get in a herd uniform is a big one. Being named Lou Henson All-American is a big deal. So super congratulations to him. That was really, really cool.
Now then, I agree with everything you said. He was up for a finalist that we mentioned of 30 to be the Lou Henson Award overall Player of the Year for the mid-majors. And he did not win, and I wasn't really upset at that aspect of it. But the person he lost to was the person he beat out in the Sun Belt for the Sun Belt Player of the Year. Went to Jordan Brown. Is it Jordan Brown?
Yeah.
Jordan Brown of Louisiana, the power forward.
Yeah, that was a little head scratching. You know, I was kind of with you. I thought, well, if he wins it, he'll probably lose it to someone in a different conference because you're the Player of the Year in the Sun Belt Conference.
Yeah. How
can you not be the best player in the conference, right? And I guess they saw things a little bit differently, but it is what it is. That's a head scratcher to me. But, you know, I tell you what is a little more confusing is not confusing, but it's like I would have appreciated them rewarding him staying at the school he started with and completing his career there, because Brown was a transfer. He transferred in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, not that that sends a message one way or the other, but it would have just been the word I love to use, a differentiator in this arena, this award. You go, you know what? That guy's been there 5 years. He stayed. He didn't hit the portal. He didn't go anywhere and try to put up bigger numbers somewhere else. He did it right there and was Conference Player of the Year at Marshall. That should have held some weight. It should have held a little bit more weight. But those are not decisions that I am, of the pay grade to make. It just would have been. It would have seemed fitting to me. That's all.
Yeah. If anything, I expected, as you and I talked, the guy that scored 27, 28 points a game,
from
I
Detroit.
would have expected that he would have walked away with it. Just because those are things that people that vote on this sort of thing, I mean, that's something that's going to stand out to them. There's no
Sure.
way they could have watched all 30 of these
No.
guys play every single game out of these finalists. So that's who I expected. So it wasn't like I was overwhelmed with, oh my gosh, he didn't win it. I thought there was a very good chance he could have won it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But when he lost it to a conference stablemate that he beat out, that's what was confusing to me, I will say.
And I don't want to sound like a hater, right? Because
Right,
Brown had a great year. He had a great year. I mean, he
tremendous
really
year.
did. And when they go head to head with the Herd, he had like probably his best game of the year.
Yeah.
And that may or may not have been a deciding factor. You come down and you go, wow, it's really between these two guys. Well, Jordan Brown had the better game when they played the Herd. I don't know. I wasn't in those meetings. I wasn't in those decisions, that decision-making process. So I don't want to sit here and sound like a hater, but
Right.
it just would have been nice, like I said, to see Tavion get the cherry on the top with that. I mean, the All-American is great. I'm not trying to diminish that. Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year, Lou Henson, first team All-American. That's a pretty good way to close out your Herd career. So
it's amazing.
If we're just going to split hairs and be like, well, he should have gotten this too. I don't want to be selfish, but he did deserve it.
If anything, too, I imagine the guy that scored 27, is even more shocked, losing it. But it is what it is. Like we said, nothing you can do. All right. Number 2, you brought this up as a decent segue. Micah Handlockton has entered the transfer portal for basketball.
So 50-50 on that for me, right? Because I thought, okay, we've got a good shot to keep him. He had a great year. We recruited him out of high school, and then we developed his game into what it became. He's Sun Belt Freshman of the Year, and we had been talking and speculating since the end of the season, like, man, this could really be something. You talk about an Andy Taylor, Cam Kerfman, Obina, and Handlockton, 4 of 5 coming back. Who's the 5th? Well, now you're down to 3 of 5. That was a shocker. So it was 50-50 because you knew he was going to get a ton of suitors. You knew he was going to be a very, very popular guy. But, you'd be naive to think that just because a guy's committed to a school or at a school that nobody's in contact with him. So, in the pro sports, they might call that tampering, but that doesn't really exist as far as I know here in the
Zero laws.
So
there's nothing right now governing that as far as I know.
So I can't blame the kid for having an opportunity to maybe, go somewhere he wanted to go out of high school, because I did see a clip where he said he was definitely going to take a visit to NC State, and that's a in-state school for him, so that's the double-edged sword. The portal giveth and the portal taketh away. We get Kerfman last year. This year so far we're gonna lose Handlockton, and on top of that we've also lost David Early, and I saw that he committed to Tennessee Tech the other day. So This is a big one though. This is not going to be easily replaced. You just don't replace a Sun Belt all freshman caliber player that easily. Can we do it? Hell yeah, we can do it, because we did it this year. We went out and found them and put them on the floor. But I think that one sent shockwaves through the locker room. Well, I don't know about the locker room, but Herd basketball fans, and probably to a certain extent the conference. But what are you going to do, man? Wish him well and thank him for what he's done here and look to reload.
Points for me. I am 100% in favor of transfer portal. I don't think that we should take these 18 to 22-year-old kids. Again, kids. I can say that because I'm 43. But we shouldn't take these guys and tie them up and say, hey, it doesn't matter what's changed in your personal life. It doesn't matter what's changed with your coaching staff, with your players or anything. You have to be there and you have to stay. I don't think that's fair. So we don't do that to non-athletes that are at school.
Right.
If KD is in school, he was there for 19 years. So we can't go at those 19 years and say, hey, KD, 15 years in, you can't go somewhere else.
Yeah, that's
It's a
true.
running joke.
I mean, I get it, and this is not directed towards him particularly, towards Micah. This is kind of just like the system in general. But I wish, you should have the freedom to go, I guess. But if coaches have the freedom to go, you should have the freedom to go. That's kind of the way I see it. But I guess I guess the what do you put in place to mitigate that?
Right.
Because I'm not going to speculate on why he's transferring. It could just be simply like, I had a great year. I'm going to strike while the iron's hot, and I'm going to try to make a run at I want to get into a league that is a multiple bid league. Yeah. That's not unfair. What if you just want to play in a freaking NCAA tournament? So far in the Sun Belt, if you want to do that, you've got to win the damn tournament. You know what I mean? And it doesn't matter if you win the regular season. You have to win the tournament to get in. So until that changes, you can't really fault guys for wanting to go and say, well, hell, I'll go to the ACC. They're a freaking 9-bid league. So, I'm going to have a decent chance to make an NCAA tournament. Whatever the case may be, that's what the case is. And it sucks as a Herd fan, because I was really excited about what we were going to look like and how dominant we could have potentially been, given how Danny and the coaching staff attacked the portal, attacked the recruiting cycle, and, what they do to replace Tavion. But having to replace Tavion and Henlogden is going to be an extremely tough task. Let's just hope that everybody else that's on the roster stays on the roster and gives us the best chance to reload as best we can.
Another minor point for me is when Jansen Williams and I'm blanking on the name.
You talking about Jared?
Jared, yes. When they left, they had both graduated and they had fulfilled their 4 years here. And because of COVID, they got an extra year and they transferred out. And I was not 100%. I mean, I was 100% behind them doing that. I wanted to see them stay, but I was behind that. This is a different scenario where Micah has 3 years left, and it stings a lot more because you're looking at, hey, can't wait to see how he is going to develop here. Hey, he gives us an interior presence when he's when he's on the court, our rebounding is better. They can't attack us as well at the rim because he's a shot blocking threat. It allows Obina to go out to the 4, and, that helps him with his rebounding and shot blocking. So that is one of the things where it stings. I'm still behind him for being able to do that. He'll always be a son of Marshall for the time that he spent here. I was really looking forward to him to stay, so I'm disappointed.
Yeah, I think we all were, but he's in the portal now. I mean, he's going to go somewhere. So now our energy must focus on what's the next moves. What's the roster going to look like now? So, and really, as Herd fans, you really hope, you got D'Antoni on a 3-year extension. So, he's going to be here. The future of the leadership of the program is intact. We know what it's going to look like. So now it's like, all right, we got to recruit the hell out of Andy Taylor. We got to recruit the hell out of, everybody else that's on the roster to stay and help us build something. I mean, being a handful of games away from either the NIT or the NCAA tournament, and now losing 2 huge weapons it's tough. That's tough. So it falls on the coaching staff now to make it happen.
Well, we knew it was going to be a different look team next year. We've had 2 coaches on here recently that have talked about different, and it would be a good different. So that's hopefully what we're going to see. We knew it was going to be different with Tavion not going to be there. Now with both of them not going to be there, we just got to replace and reload and do what we can to make it a good different that we're going to have.
Here.
Yeah. All right. So number 3, Patrick Coben named Sunbelt Pitcher of the Week over in baseball.
deserved.
Yeah. Going up against what we talked about to be such a powerful lineup at ODU, and he gets out of there only giving up 1 run. And we saw the 2 games that he wasn't pitched in, they scored 21. Was it 25? 20?
They scored a buttload.
And
They
then
took
12.
they took a bunch out of the
Yeah,
yard.
it was above 20. So,
Yeah.
and then 12 in the final game. So, 8 home runs in that game that they scored over 20. One player got 3. Copen faced that same lineup and gave up, I think, 3 hits and
struck out 11.
Yeah, very good, very good.
And I know we're talking about ancient history in the grand scheme because we've played another series since then, but this award came out since we last recorded, and we have to talk about this stuff because that was an incredible accomplishment, especially when you talk about that lineup. Old Dominion's amongst the national leaders in home runs. It's not just like they hit a bunch of home runs, on occasion. No, they are amongst the national leaders, like top 5 or better in the home run category nationally. So to come in and have such an outing on that Friday, man, that tells you that he's special, right? He's special, and he's only getting better. So I would tend to think that he's got your Friday opening series game starter position like on lock. That's his. He's kind of the ace right now because he's been great all year. He's been really solid all year, and that Old Dominion Friday was just that was a different level of awesome. And now, I know we're going to talk about it later in Around the Herd, but I'm sure you saw the tweet I put out the other day on the heels of them winning the series. So we're checking the boxes. We talked about this with baseball. You got to win the game, then you got to win a series, then it's a series sweep. So we got our first one against App State. We got the first series against ULM this past weekend. So it's onward and upward, man. It's literally brick by brick. That's what we're doing here.
Yep. And we will have a lot to talk about in Around the Herd about the baseball team. Number 4, we had some football staff additions. Some of these, kind of had been all but named, but now they are named.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a lot. It was a big string of some elevated from like analyst to GA type things, and then they bring in some analysts, and some have been out there and already been announced, but there were some new ones. Do you have the full list?
I'm bringing it up right now. While I'm bringing it up, though, we can talk. Seymour was officially kind of introduced there. That had already been named, and Shea was announced during this. But a couple of analyst positions, we had talked about Aaron Dobson on the show, and now Danny Darricott.
Yeah, which is I know there's probably a fair amount of folks, Mac era fans, that are listening to our show, and they saw that and they were like, hell yeah. And then there's another section of the listenership and the viewers that probably are like, okay, I don't know much about this guy. I mean, maybe he's a, up and comer in the coaching ranks. And while that could be true, you need to do yourself a favor in this world that we live in and go to YouTube and look for some, Mac era highlights, because not only were those teams great and those defenses great, but Dan Darricott was at the forefront of a lot of those secondaries in that Mac era of Herd football. And that guy is a straight all-time great Herd Hall of Famer. I mean, the accolades, the statistics, if you just went and looked at the statistics and what he did and the teams he played for, this was a really cool name to see fly across the coaching staff additions. So I'm intrigued. I'm excited. I always wonder about, great players. Some of them have the ability to coach at a really high level. And there's those other instances where like their greatness just came so easy to them that it's hard for them to convey that, how they did it. Right. So I'm intrigued, and I bet Dan is a wealth of freaking knowledge about secondary play, corner play, safety play. And just the fact that he's an all-timer being added to this staff to go along with Dobson, it's going to be really cool, man. It's just really cool. I love what Charles Huff does, keeping some of our greats connected to the program. He does a great job with that. But who else we got?
Well, so just going down the line here, defensive coordinator we talked about,
Hmm.
Jason Seymour, tight ends coach Derek Shea. That had been kind of heavily rumored and reported, but that was official. Offensive analyst Aaron Dobson, defensive analyst Danny Darricott, uh, defensive GA Mark Shaver, and offensive GA Quentin Hall. General manager Logan Meyer, we had talked
Yep.
about that. Manager of football operations Joe Carter, not the home run
Not
in
the
the
Blue
World
Jays player.
Series. Yeah, I looked it up,
It's
and
not the same guy.
yeah, our crack stats guys looked it up for us.
Yeah.
Not the same dude. And director of recruiting ops, we talked about that last week. I think it was Katie Roll.
Hmm. Yeah. It's a lot of additions and changes, and it's pretty extensive list.
and this is not out there as an announcement on Herd Zone or anything, but if you looked up anything on uh, retweets or quotes or stuff from Christian Spears on Twitter on Saturday, he put it out here that Mike Valentine is coming over to be the new equipment manager
Hmm.
for. Obviously, he's not taking Cedric Prowell's position. This is for recently departed Zach Littleton.
Hmm.
Uh, Mike is coming over from Northwestern, and that looks to be the position that he's going to replace. Now, it could be a total different realignment. That's what it looks like to me. But Mike had tweeted out that he was going to take a position in equipment for Marshall, and then Christian quote tweeted that and said, here's this about the guy, and welcome to the stuff. So
Well, and along with that, I saw that we've brought on another. I don't know what the position is because it really doesn't say, but it's also in equipment, and don't even have like the proper name here. All I have is the Twitter account, right? But he goes by Twitty, and the Twitter account is at EQ Twitty. So he's an Akron alum and now Marshall equipment staff. So welcome, Twitty. I wish I knew your full name, but kind of secretive with that on the handle. But it looks like a revamping of the equipment staff. So
yeah,
a lot of additions. Usually historically, this has been kind of a rise through the ranks position, like come up through Marshall type deal. And
yeah,
and um, it's not saying it's not that as well, but Marshall and Herd Equipment has been long known as putting out high quality performers in this category for like we send these guys to other schools to be head equipment guys and work at a high level, and I'm hoping that's something that we are able to continue to do, because in
yeah.
those circles, Marshall's really well respected in
Mm-hmm.
the equipment arena, I guess is what
We've
you would
been
say.
doing it at a high level for a long time, and the resources that these huge Alabama, Ohio State, I have a feeling it's kind of easy there because you're basically like, hey, I'd like to do this. Okay, here's $8 million, go do it.
Yeah.
So it's different here, and we have people that just nose to the grindstone, get it done, and I
Well,
think
but
that's
at the end of the day, Alabama's a great example, right? Because that just means that's a huge budget to manage. You know what I
well,
mean? That's a
true, yeah,
lot of money. That's a lot of responsibility. And I'm not saying that Marshall's job isn't easy. I'm sure it's very, very hard, very time consuming. There's a lot of hours involved.
mm-hmm,
Probably very few thank yous. One of
mm-hmm,
those type positions. But then you take it from what we have, what our budget is, relatively speaking, to the Georgias and the Floridas and Michigans and Ohio States, and you're thinking that's a lot of money to have to manage, and it's a lot of athletes to have to outfit, because they have how many different variations of uniforms on top of team gear, on top of practice wear, on top of all this stuff for basically every team that they have has all this stuff. It's a lot to manage, and
yeah,
to know that we push out those type of performers to go and be able to succeed in places like that says a lot about what we do at Marshall.
yeah. We're going to move on to number 5. Last week we recorded late Sunday night, and early Sunday morning before we uploaded the show, this announcement came out. But Kim Stevens, the head coach from Glenville State, which was highly, highly rumored to come here, has been officially named and welcomed in as the new women's basketball coach.
I know. And when you said that to me before we started recording, I was like, dang, we really didn't talk about that. That happened like right before I think our episode posted, last Monday. So a little over a week ago. And that was what I'm saying is the landmark. That was the why I wanted to use landmark, because it's a landmark thing. This is a new era of Herd women's basketball, and her style of play and what she's been able to accomplish at Glenville State should not be taken lightly. Will it translate to the Sun Belt? Who knows? It has just as good of a shot to be really, really successful as perhaps not. But this is a totally revamping of Herd women's basketball, definitely from a style perspective. And I don't know about you, but I am really pumped. I'm really pumped to see what we put out on the floor and to see if this is now going to be a team. Not that they were bad. We loved our team last year and the guts and the grit, and we love. But I'm intrigued that if we will trot out a team to where opposing players and opposing coaches are like, I do not want to face that team again because they are relentless from the opening whistle to the final whistle.
Couple of things that I have heard. We talked about it a little bit on here before. Lots of threes, fast pace, press. But if I'm not mistaken, there is a lot of U5 sub in right now, swap in and out, and that way you've got fresh legs, and it's just going to be a different style.
And that requires an incredibly deep roster. Think about that for a second, where most teams, damn near every team is like, all right, one guy in, maybe two guys in. If you're mass subbing, you might put three guys in. You never see all five come off the floor unless it's like a blowout scenario into the game, and you're like, all right, everybody get in.
Yeah, let's get some freshman minutes in here, that sort of thing. So I am looking forward to this new style of play. I am also tempering my expectations in year one, because you have to get a system in. You've got to get the players to fit that system, unless they come in and say, I'm not going to honor any of these scholarships and we're going to start over. You just cannot do that in year one. And I'm not suggesting that's what we're going to do. I'm not suggesting that's what I want them to do. I'm saying it is impossible because you didn't recruit these players to fit your system. So you basically just say, I need to mold what I have here into my system.
Right.
That happens in every sport, and every time there's a coaching and system change. That's just the way it is. If you look at Nebraska way back in the day, they had a totally different offensive line to run the triple option. And when you come in and say, okay, now we're a spread offense, it's a different offensive line, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to have in year one. Now, we could come in and just dominate year one in this system. I don't mean dominate with the record, but just running this system on all cylinders. We could come in and do everything with these players that we have. I'm not suggesting that the players that we have cannot do it in this system. But once she gets some recruitment in on the system that she has built and has in place, then I think we're really going to see a game changer here.
Well, let's not discount the fact that there are probably a hell of a lot of players in the country that want to play that style of basketball.
Yeah.
And we have a full complement basically of recruiting and portal and all of that. We when we saw the coaching change take place, there were some announcements of players that we'd had committed in this recruiting cycle, or at least one that I saw had reopened her commitment, right? So, or reopened her recruiting.
Yeah.
So, and you can't just say, well, how does that translate? How does Division II translate to the Sun Belt? Well, Abby Beeman made the transition pretty well. She came from Division II, and I saw where someone had mentioned that, Abby's last loss in Division II was to Kim Stevens in the tournament, and now she's going to be her coach at Marshall. Well, we both resoundingly believe that Abby got robbed in all Sun Belt Conference honors, and she was great this year for us. She was a real game changer for what this team needed going into this past season. So I think that we will ultimately be okay. I bet you there's going to be a few pieces that come in this cycle that are some instant impact type players. Our cupboard is by no means bare. We've got some great players here that can probably do a lot of what Coach Stevens wants done. And if she can accentuate that through this recruiting cycle and through the portal cycle, then I can't sit here and say no, we're going to win the Sun Belt in year one. No, we're not.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that. But it's a 7-year contract commitment. So if that doesn't tell you that we are firmly committed to what she can do here, you're not really paying attention. Don't look for the instant turnaround, undefeated season, conference championship in year one. If it happens, it happens, right? That just means you're outpacing your expectations. But a 7-year commitment, that's a big deal, man. That's a big deal. So that tells me that our leadership has full faith that she can implement her style and succeed at a high level here. And she said herself, Coach Stevens said she wouldn't have went somewhere she didn't think she could win because she had a really good thing going at Glenville. And she believes that we can win here. And I do too. We proved that. So we were able to go toe to toe with some of the toughest. I mean, remember, we go to James Madison and beat the number one team in the conference there to close out the season. We can go toe to toe with the best of the best in this conference. We just need to be able to do it consistently. And maybe this injection of energy and change in style of play is what we need to get over the hump.
You mentioned the word commitment several times in there. Marshall, in the article announcing it, brought out a very good thing that we jumped on.
Yeah.
And that was a commitment to show that we as fans are committed, just as Marshall was committed to her for 7 years. And for $250, you got a couple of seats for season tickets to women's basketball. You got a signed Tavion Kinsey basketball commemorating him getting the all-time points record here at Marshall. There was some apparel.
Shirts.
Yeah. And seems like something else that I'm leaving out, but whatever. It was a pretty good package to put together.
Yeah. I mean, of course we're committed, right? Anytime we can be committed to another level, we want to. And this was an opportunity for us to show that commitment immediately. This is fresh off the heels of Coach Stevens getting hired, D'Antoni getting the extension. It's like Marshall's committed to these coaches. We as fans should be committed to the program. So we are.
Number 6, and this will be our final thing of the week.
Bonus thing.
Softball breaks another record. It was 18 in a row that they got to before this season. They got to it was 18 broke the record. That was earlier in the week. And we'll talk about that later in Around the Herd. And then they ended up sweeping, which we'll talk about in Around the Herd, Georgia State. So now they are at 21 wins in a row. 31-3 overall, 21 wins in a row.
I'm kind of speechless at that because I'm not even sure that Megan would sit here and tell us that she saw that coming, because that's just so hard to do. It's just so hard to do.
Any one game, one thing can go wrong.
Yeah. And I don't, along that same token, I don't think that she would sit here and say she saw it coming, but she also wouldn't probably sit here and say, I'm totally surprised.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because her team has that build, her staff, everything they've been able to put together just tells you they come to work every day and they're really good. They're really good. And then they come to work every day and do things. And if you give this Herd team a sliver of an opportunity to abuse you, they will, right?
Yeah.
If you don't make a perfect throw, if whatever, they're going to take an extra base on you, and they're going to do it every single time they get an opportunity. It's always gas. It's never hesitation and wait and see. It's just take your shot, and if you get thrown out, you get thrown out. But 90% of the time, it seems like, more than that maybe, we just move a base runner over, and which leads to another run, which leads to a 1-run lead becoming a 3-run lead. It's those type of things, and they do it every game. So I'm not surprised either, but I am surprised because 21 games that's a lot of games. That's a lot of games in a row to be winning. And the streak's not over, right? We're still going. We're going to go into this weekend or this Thursday, Friday, Saturday series we'll talk about with that streak intact. What a run.
I, I'm as speechless as you are, and it's one of those things. You keep saying earlier in different episodes is like Abby Herring. You're going to hear, "Hey, Abby Herring broke another record." This is the same thing here with
Yeah.
softball. It's
Yeah.
just like, what more can they break? What can they do? And we've got a lot of softball to discuss later in the
Yeah.
show,
We do.
and I don't want to take away from it there, but just wow, 21 wins in a row.
I know, man. And some of the data points that I'm going to hit when we get it to them in around the herd uh, are they feel good, and it's not. And I'm not even talking about like statistics, like from the team standpoint. I don't want to lead too far into it, but I want to say that in the preparation for this episode, I was taking point of some of these data points. And I'm like, man, that's great. That's awesome. But now we're getting into the point of, excuse me, the point of this season where potentially I thought it might happen this weekend if our bats busted out in a big way, and we just put up 15-2 or whatever. Every game ended up being 5 or 6, which is still excellent run support. But if we'd have had a big bats day, multi RBIs from multiple players type days, then we might have seen this. But we're getting ready to see an all-time single season record fall, and we're like midway through the season. That's how dominant this team is. So I can't talk enough about softball. They can't do enough to, earn our support and earn the support of the casual fan. If you're still a casual fan and you look down and you see 30-3, 31-3, whatever it is, it's time to click up that casualness a little bit and just be a fan, right? Like, what more do they got to do? They're legitimate. And this is driving home the point that we said way back when, before we joined the Sun Belt, that this could be a cornerstone program for Marshall in the Sun Belt. And boy, are they proving us right.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to an end of this week's 6 Things Every Herd Fan Needs to Know This Week. As always, brought to you by Ignite Link. KD, before we move on, it's that time. I want to take down the chalkboard here and go over this week's clue. As you'll see, we're at clue number 6. There were only 7 total clues in this contest. So next week, we will have our final clue. And then the week after that, we'll have the announcement. Still, no one has gotten it right.
No one has gotten it right. So your chances are excellent to be the winner, potentially the only person to solve this riddle. And again, while Russ is showing that, let me tell you once again, each individual clue is not the individual answer to the riddle. It is but a clue to the overall answer to this 8-week-long, 7-week-long series of clues. So,
and 2 other things, make sure you DM us so you're not ruining whatever your guess is, right or wrong, could influence or ruin it for someone else. So
you could give away your own prize if somebody else, if it clicks in somebody else's mind.
Yeah, so DM us as people have been doing the last few weeks.
Yeah.
But also each individual board where it says clue number 6, this is the board this week. There are multiple clues on every one of these boards. So if you are taking one single thing away from these boards in each of the weeks, there's something you're missing. So here it is again. We'll have this out on social media as well under hashtag TC Chalkboard. But play along. It's been a lot of fun. I've seen some really clever guesses, and nothing wrong with your guesses except for, well, they're wrong.
They're wrong. Doesn't mean you're not on the right track, but you're not right. All right. Let's just take this around the herd because we've got a lot to talk about there. And, spring football got underway, and man, it's that time of year. There's been a lot of basketball news. We got a lot. So let's talk about it.
All right. We're going to start off with tennis. They won 5-2 over Texas State. That was on the road on Saturday. And then on Sunday, they also won 5-2, and that was against Louisiana. Really killing it since they've hit the Sun Belt Conference. That one setback, as we mentioned, from a couple of weeks ago at ranked ODU. Other than that, they've been doing very good. They're hosting Southern Miss on Saturday, and I found this one hard to believe, but they're hosting South Alabama on Easter Sunday here.
Hmm.
I didn't think that there would be any matches or games or meets or anything on Easter, but there you go.
Well, there most certainly apparently will be. This has been an excellent road swing for the Herd Tennis team to go out there. And if you want individual results, you can get this stuff on Herd Zone.
Herd Zone.
There's just a lot. You play doubles and singles, a lot of matches, and it's hard to keep track of everything. But we've got some performers that are up there every week that could be named SBC Player of the Week every week, and it's just a matter of who else is doing whatever else they're doing. But this season, we're not just eking by. We're going out there and really, I don't know, imposing our will on these teams. We're going into their house and winning convincingly these overall matches, singles and doubles. So they have been doing a great job. This tennis team hasn't really let us down at all this year. And even if you want to talk about Old Dominion, it's top 20 team at the time. It's not a letdown. That's a measuring stick of where you're trying to get to. So they're really killing it. Excellent job by the tennis squad.
Moving over to men's soccer, they beat Ohio State 3-1 on Saturday to move to 2-0 in the Collegiate Spring League. And they are headed to Louisville on Saturday at 4 p.m. for the third game of 4.
Oh, okay. 3 of 4. Nice. I was wondering if that was going to be how many there were. But, yeah, I saw that. And so this is now the second game they've played where I guess they scored at least 3. Didn't they have 4 in the first one?
I don't know. So it was 3-1 this time. I think it was 4-2.
Yeah, I think so too.
First game.
So if this is any indication of what this team's going to look like, yeah, it's spring league. Yeah, I get it. But if this is the scoring prowess that we can expect, I mean, at least multiple goals per game, you're really going to like the Herd's chances. I think we're going to be really good again this year, despite the absence of some all-timers due to exhaustion of eligibility that are now playing at a higher level. We've got 3 or 4 guys that are playing at another level. There's Milo's out there in Tulsa and Simla's in Louisville, I think, and Alves is somewhere. I don't remember where he's at, but they were just playing down here in Tampa the other day. They were playing the Rowdies. And I think I saw it wasn't Masa Yunus somewhere as well. I think he got signed somewhere as well. So that's a lot of guys to lose off of a team and then to come out and reload that team and expect to be really, really competitive. I would be surprised if Marshall's not the one of the top 2 teams in the Sun Belt yet again.
Yeah. And if I'm remembering the format correctly, they play these 4 games, and then from all of the teams that are in there, they've got the North Division and the South Division. They will have the final 4 after these weeks are over. Of course, last year we won that overall. So looking forward to how that goes again this year. And, you said, I know it's the spring league, but these are good teams that we're playing.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to diminish it, but.
Yeah. And everyone is really trying to win. So,
well, also, you would probably think that everybody's trying to beat the Herd because they're the defending champion. So you're getting everyone's best game. They're loading up to beat you. They want to knock you out. And what a great position that is to be in. I love being the team that everybody wants to come after and few teams are able to defeat.
Over in women's soccer, and you'll probably know where I'm going with this, but they had matches against Radford and Virginia Tech Sunday earlier today, and we do not have scores on that. They also played at Kentucky earlier in the week, last week, and we don't have scores on it. And we have kind of reached out to try to find that. It's kind of like, hey, it's scrimmage, not really anything to report. Not that. So when we talk about women's soccer, we're going to let you guys know when they play, but as they are just scrimmages, they're not playing in a spring league and things like that. It's just a better practice. You might not even have your starting lineup in there, that sort of thing for either team. Just not going to have anything the way of anything to report on scores.
Well, but I wish, I wish we would at least be getting an indication of how the team is coming together from
Right.
from a personnel standpoint.
Yep.
Because we hit the portal and brought in some additions and we lost some players. So I just like to get a general feel for who the movers and shakers are going to be on this 2023 roster. That's really it. I mean, a score is a score. If that's out there, that also doesn't tell me anything other than we won or lost or tied.
Yeah.
So I'd like to know some kind of player type stats. But if we're just figuring that out right now, like the team also is trying to figure that out, then there's really is nothing to report, because they're feeling their way out too. But they are playing. We just don't have any info out there on it.
Over in golf news, we had this Any Given Tuesday tournament, which
on a Monday, Wednesday.
took place Monday through Wednesday. But anyway, we're going to hit the men's results first and the women's second. So the men finished 9th out of 18 teams with a 10 over par. Reason I bring these up
Here we go. Somebody go 90 under again.
Troy won at 24 under par, and second place was 2 under par.
How does this happen? What was the team a couple of weeks ago that did that?
It was like 306. It's like Kim Jong-il was the only guy playing for him.
It was like it's 50 under, and then the next team is par. Like, how is that the thing?
Have I already reached my quota on the Kim Jong-il golf thing? Yeah.
You're gonna have to go with the
come up with
10 cup or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe Tiger Woods golf when I used to hit a 54 on that one.
Work in some Happy Gilmore references. Yeah, that seems natural.
Yeah. Anyway, the herd had a great final round at 2 under, and that moved them 5 spots up the leaderboard on the final day. Tyler Jones led the way for the herd. Obviously, that's kind of what he's been doing. He was 1 under for the tournament, and that was good enough for 16th overall, tied for 16th.
Cool.
On the women's side, Marshall finished 11 out of 17. This is a drastically, same course as I understand it, drastically different results over there. 65 over par. And that was 11 out of 17. And you might say, wow, that's bad. But get this, James Madison won the event at 13 over par.
Wow.
And second place was 30 over par. Emily McClatchy finished 16th at 7 over, and only 2 individual golfers for the entire tournament finished under par. So,
jeez.
Yeah.
These scores are all over the place. This is
all
wild,
over.
Man. This is wild.
But, you first say, hey, Marshall finished 65 over, and you're like, man, that's what? And
yeah.
You're like, yeah, number 2 was 30 over. So...
Of course, and we don't know the conditions. It could have been terrible.
Well, that's what it was. You know, it's terrible conditions down there.
But still,
and they are actually golfing tomorrow, Monday. When you listen to this, the Colonel Classic starts in Richmond, Kentucky. So they're over at EKU, and they are playing over there for a couple of days.
Yeah, not a terribly far road trip. I'll tell you one thing cool that I did see this past week on the social media feed is the Herd Women's Golf account on Twitter put up a piece of content where they were following sophomore golfer Katie Potter when she played a hole at Guyan, and they were just kind of walking with her, and that was pretty cool. That's not something that I'd seen before. So it was kind of her talking about how she approaches playing that hole and how, you don't want to hit it long. You want to make sure you're short. And it was pretty cool, man. It was a nice little bit of insight. I appreciated that. So if anybody from, that's controlling the Herd Women's Golf Twitter account or content creation sees that was really cool, man. You guys should do more of that. That was a great way to get introduced to a golfer that I didn't know. And listen to how they approach a particular hole. That was just really cool.
A quick aside, I think that we are blessed here at Marshall with the content creation that we have. We're constantly seeing the basketball team did it a lot, men's and women's on Wednesdays. They were putting out being on campus and interacting with the students and stuff like that. Just a lot of killer content. I mean, we've got some good creative minds here and some good at what they do, digital creators, and Stan with his videography.
Yeah.
We've got some cool
I want
stuff.
to piggyback off of that too, because I saw one earlier. It's probably been several weeks now, but it made me laugh. And it was, I think it was a baseball team doing that, and they were walking up to people asking like, "What would your walk-up song be?" You know,
Yeah.
it's like that's cool, man.
Yeah.
Because some people are probably like, "What the hell are you talking about?" What? But that's a good question. That's kind of everybody's thought about that. Everybody has
hair of the
thought
dog.
about that. Right. See, you knew right off the bat what you were going to say.
Yeah.
But everybody's thought about that, and to put people on the spot, it's pretty cool to see if like, will they be truthful or will they try to come up with something else on the fly? But not Russ Livingood. He's going to go with Nazareth, hair of the dog.
that was my walk-up song at the wedding, so it's always got to be. You know? Volleyball, they won 3-0 over Kentucky Christian, and they will host West Virginia State on Thursday. So if you want to get a really good look at that crisp, fresh new floor, man, it looks great. It's something you ought to go in and see. Again, right now, it is free to go in here in the spring. So go in, get a good look at that floor on Thursday, and support the Marshall volleyball team.
Yeah, and I saw that we're on the recruiting trail right now down in, well, I guess they're back now. That was a couple of days ago. Yeah, it was a weekend trip. They were down in Atlanta.
Coach
Beige. If I'm not mistaken, we may have added to the recruiting class maybe this past week as well. I don't know. I'd have to run back and check out the followers, you know, people that I've followed, but I want to say that we did. We did. Yeah. I don't know if we don't work for Marshall. I guess we can talk about this kind of stuff. But Taylor Bartram from Kentucky committed to Herd Volleyball from Ashland. And I'm wondering if that's like, I saw that Coach Mike Bartram had talked about that, had like retweeted or something like that. So I wonder if it's a relative of his or whatever. But anyway, that's pretty cool. A nice addition to the Herd Volleyball roster from a local standout is always a good thing. That helps get butts in the seats at the cam. So congratulations to Taylor and congratulations to Coach Ari and an ever-evolving Herd Volleyball program in 2023. This is like a really exciting time to get involved with Herd Volleyball because, you know, the new floor changes the entire look of the cam. It really makes it feel like a volleyball venue, so you're getting like the full-on vibe, especially, I mean, and that's just for me seeing pictures. I can't imagine being in there and, you know, seeing it firsthand, but a lot of energy, a lot of excitement. I love it, man. I love it.
Next, we're going to track and field, and they are doing the what's the official name? South Florida Invitational on Friday and Saturday, and it'll be right there in Tampa. So,
snap!
Maybe you can hop
well,
over
Tampa's
there.
kind of big, and there's a lot of tracks. So, wonder where it is. Doesn't say. Is it on USF's campus or?
Yeah, I mean that's the host, so I'm assuming it has to be.
They might not have a facility, you know, they're in, I don't want to turn this into a USF podcast, but they're in the midst of like a massive investment in sports to put a lot of on-campus facilities, including a football stadium there.
Right.
So I don't know if they have a track on campus because, well, I'm not a USF fan. So they could be at one of the local high schools or, you know, I don't know. So.
Well, I'm just saying I expect a correspondence report firsthand from you down there, and
I'll get right on that.
maybe a video of you running the 60 next to somebody.
I look like Rich Eisen.
What do you run, a 9.4 or something?
No. I'm gonna blow out a quad just trying to do some content creation for the ThunderCast that'll get 10 likes. I don't think so, Chief.
If you blow out a quad, it'll get a lot more likes than that. Trust me.
Yeah, I appreciate that everyone wants to see me, you know, injure myself.
That's funny, man. I mean, it harkens back to the Simpsons days. Man hit by groin, or man hit by football and groin. All right, over on the diamond in baseball, we dropped the final game of last weekend's series at ODU, 12-2. We were still recording when that game was being played. Then they lost at a ranked WVU squad up in
Mm-hmm.
Morgantown, 9-7. Very close back and forth game, and that was one of those that made me want to see that series play more often. I mean, they're right here in the state. You would think so. Totally different than in football.
Yeah, of
I
course.
just think play the game. They play in soccer, but that was a ranked squad, and we put up a very good showing. Almost walked out of there with a win.
Yeah.
Um, Started the weekend series with an away win at ULM, Louisiana Monroe, 113-6 on Friday. Dropped game two in a close one, 4-3 on Saturday, and then they finished the series with a 4-3 win to pick up their first Sun Belt Conference Series win. And, it was in spectacular fashion if you got to catch any of that, which I got to catch a little bit of it. I was watching the softball game and then flipped over. Zach Adkisson was dealing. Only gave up one run through what was it here? Sorry, I'm trying to scroll down to the pitchers. 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, only 2 walks, and 9 strikeouts. So very, very, very good showing by him. We won 4-3. Got that ever so important. Got to get the first one out of the way, like you said.
That's right.
Tick those boxes. Uh, Series win in the Sun Belt.
It's
Got
a
Louisiana coming here Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. But before that, we have on Wednesday WVU coming to town. All 4 of those games are going to be at Gomart Park in Charleston.
Yeah, and I want to go back to that, that West Virginia game and talk about because their coach, manager, whatever you want to call him, had said that he would like to see that series expanded.
Yeah,
He would like
yeah,
to have a Charleston game, a Huntington game, and a Morgantown game, and
same.
I think that's I think a lot of fans feel that way,
Yeah,
and of course, you would like to think that once the ballpark gets built, that will
mm-hmm.
happen because putting in 3 separate midweek games is so easy to do, and especially you don't have to play a 3-game series. You can schedule them at different parts in this
Yeah,
season and encompass so much of the fans of both of these schools by playing one in Morgantown, one in Huntington, and one in Charleston. It's just a really, really good idea. And I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody else, but honestly, would you rather play a third time at Moorhead or, a second time against West Virginia?
yeah.
Yeah, I think you would want to do that because I don't feel like the baseball vibe has nearly the toxicity as a football vibe does.
Sure. Same
You
with
know?
soccer. Same
Yeah.
with all that stuff, and even basketball is different because for a long time we continued to play that series when you didn't play it in football. But I think I have a solution for them. Tell me what you think, and anyone listening, feel free to send us a message or a tweet or something about it. One game in Morgantown, one game in Huntington. Once we have the stadium built, if one of those teams goes 2-0 leading into the third game in Charleston, they would be the home field for that, which gives them an advantage to win in the bottom of the
Oh,
ninth.
okay. Yeah, that's not a bad
Um,
idea.
if it's 1-1, then you just do a rotating basis each year on that, or do an old fashioned coin flip, or
Yeah.
you know what? Why don't you have a little fun with it and have a home run derby or something? One player puts their one person out there. One team puts one player out there, and they get 5 balls. See how many home runs they can hit against the other person, and they get add a little excitement, some things to this.
Well, you know where I was going. I was just going to say the old paper rock scissors, best 2 of 3 wins. That's that's my go-to all the time. But I kind of like the idea of kind of the all-star game type
Yeah,
approach where the
yeah,
winner gets the home field in the World Series. I don't know if that's really the way it should be, but I like that idea. You go
yeah,
2-0, you win both games, you should be the home team in Charleston.
yeah,
The only scheduling quirk that comes along with that is that the Charleston game would always have to be the third game.
yeah. Well,
But
that's why I think it should. It's
yeah,
it's a minor league park.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that it is head and shoulders above what we're going to have in Huntington or what Morgantown has up there, but it is the one that is in the middle, as close to in the middle as you can do this, to where you would think that you would have, good fan base participation, that you can make this series mean something. So you've got a home and a home. If somebody goes 2-0 in that, they get home field over there.
Yeah.
But I mean, do a little something. I mean, what's it take 15 minutes before the game to do a very minor home run derby between two players that you just say, here's who we're sending up,
Right.
here's who
Right.
we're sending up. Just do something to add a little bit to this and start making it a draw for the fans here in the state.
All right. If you do the home run derby and you end that tied, then you play paper rock scissors, best 2 out of 3 wins, and then we play the game. But I like that. That's really cool. That would just be one of those fun type things that would just add a little bit of little bit of a layer to this this event, because that would be an event,
Yeah.
and it would mean something. It would make every game mean something other than just bragging rights. That's a cool idea. The one other baseball note that we got to mention is that we picked up yet another commitment for the next class. Trey Hondras is coming out of Chicago. I want to say he's a JUCO guy, maybe, but I don't think he's a traditional high school recruit, because I went to find a profile, and it was there wasn't a whole lot out there, unless I just don't know exactly where to look yet. I'm still learning these things, but that makes, what is that, 3 or 4 now in the Bills class?
At least 3.
Yeah.
I know that we got the catcher and then the guy down there from around your area.
Yeah.
Cooper, and then this guy. So
I think
that's at least 3.
I think it's at least 3, but I really think it's 4. But still, no, it seems like every week it's somebody else, another one added. So I like that. I love it. We need obviously more, but I love it. I mean, the baseball team just keeps checking a box, and that's all you can ask for. Once you get enough boxes checked, then you're kind of there. And I think the biggest box to be checked is the stadium. And then when that finally gets checked, and you can literally use that as a recruiting tool, some of these other things are just going to go so much faster. So I love it. I love it though. Next stop,
we have one
conference sweep.
Yeah. I'm with you. We have one more thing to talk about with baseball.
Cool.
And that is the I thought you said bold. I thought hilarious because it was on April Fools.
Yeah.
A lot of people did not like it.
That's why it was bold.
Yeah. A lot of people didn't think it was funny. A lot of people just 100% did not realize what day it was.
Hook, line, and sinker. Got them.
But they put out on April Fools, if you didn't see it on social media, that they were pausing the baseball stadium construction due to rising cost of materials, labor, and that sort of thing. And there were a lot of incensed, enraged people.
Yeah,
but this was a 2-part thing. One, to have a little fun, have a little, this is obviously a hot button for a lot of people, and rightfully so. But having a little fun, showing that they can poke some fun at what has taken way too long. But this is an administration that is getting this done. If you want to, just go right behind the softball field and go look at it. Look at the live cam of the construction. You can see all that's going on right now, and it is taking shape. It's nothing that you're like, well, they're moving some dirt, but it can be for anything. It is a literal baseball diamond that you can see over there.
Yeah.
But the news, the 2-parter, was on April the 2nd. Today, they said that they are moving forward with their brick campaign. You get your personalized brick, pick it out, and they are going to choose the best one, and then that will get you a free brick to name. So participate on that. You can find it over on Herd Zone, anywhere on social media, Facebook or Twitter. You can find that link, but it's under Herd Zone, at Herd Zone on Twitter. But Marshall Athletics has put that out. Cool bricks. Get them with a shout out to somebody that means a lot to you, whatever you want to say about Marshall. And, who knows, you come up with a really good one, then you'll get a free brick as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. And yes, I said bold because of the very same reasons that you said. A lot of folks immediately got incensed with the idea, like, great, here we go. And I was like, whew. I saw the joke immediately because I was quite aware that it was April Fool's, and I knew that this project was going to get done. But there are a lot of people, not just Herd fans, but other fans of other schools that are just waiting for anything to pounce on.
Yeah.
And yes, I ultimately get that now they look a little foolish because it was a joke and you fell for it so hard, and it was obviously not true, but still, man, I wonder how long they looked at each other in the office before hitting send, like, all right, you ready? We're going to do this because, this could go either way. But it even fooled, I talk about my cousin Larry a lot. Larry, I love you. No, I love you. He texted me yesterday. No, today. Yeah, today. Earlier today. And he's like, is this real? And I'm like, look at the date, man. And he's like, oh my God, I fell for it. So even he fell for it, but he was a little preoccupied. So let me give him a little special shout out here on celebrating the birth of his second son.
Yeah.
Another Herd fan added to the arsenal, added to the herd. Yeah. Another little baby buffalo added to the herd. So congratulations to Larry and his wife on the addition to their family. And yes, another Herd fan up in the Kanawha Valley, wearing proudly the Kelly Green, had the little Kelly Green onesie on at the shot in the hospital. Love you, brother. I'm glad that everything, your wife is doing well. I'm glad the family has grown and the baby boy is doing well. Love y'all, miss y'all, but it was just a prank, man. You're going to get a stadium.
We're going to keep it on the diamond and close out around the herd with softball, as we are going to do pretty much for the rest of their season. They're the main event, man. They are the main event.
Yeah.
But they tore up Northern Kentucky 13-1 in 5 innings on Tuesday, and that win propelled them to the new school mark for consecutive wins. Then they beat Georgia State 6-1 on Saturday. I got to go and take my oldest daughter to that game, and did not get to go on Sunday. Watched them at home after we got home from church. Won 5-1 in the first game on Sunday and swept the series with a 6-0 victory in the second game. That is now, as we said earlier, 21 wins in a row. Yeah. I'm going to tell you where they're going next, and then I'll let you hit up all the stuff.
Cool.
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, they will be at ULM, Louisiana Monroe, for a 3-game set, and that just happens to be the previous stop for assistant coach Corey Lyon. So a little bit of a homecoming for him.
Yep, sure is. Now, look, there's not much to talk about other than the fact that the record was broken against Northern Kentucky, because they just flat beat the brakes off of that poor squad, completely outmatched. There's no reason to just throw salt in the wound. It sucks that happened to them, but it did. So that put the gals even running at a faster pace now that they have broken this record. Now it's about extending this record and putting it, potentially how far out of reach for another team? I mean, 18's bad, or 17 was hard enough. And you get to 18, you're like, all right, now the pressure's off. Well, hell, we're already up to 21. So how long is this thing going to go?
Forever.
So let's just talk about the weekend series, right? Georgia State Sun Belt Conference Series. That's the kind of the main attraction, right? You want to know that we're keeping pace there or extending a lead there. 31-3 now after the weekend's game, 7-0 in the Sun Belt Conference. First place in the standings in the Sun Belt, riding that 21-game win streak like you mentioned. Next longest winning streak in the conference is Troy at 5 games. Now, I know that doesn't really mean anything. Marshall's got the 3rd maybe or 4th longest win streak in the nation going right now. I mean, they're up there, top 3, 4. I think Oklahoma's up there.
Oklahoma's undefeated, I think, at 25-0.
Yeah, so they're we need somebody to lose a game before we're going to be able to get up there, and Oklahoma's just kind of sort of rolling right now. But you mentioned the series sweep, and when I was doing the prep for the show, I mentioned that some of the stats that jumped out of me that weren't necessarily player stats were really good to see. It made me feel good. And that is attendance at these games. The Saturday game, 495 listed fans in attendance for that game. It's a Sunday game 1, 393. And the series finale, 618 fans. Now, that's a big deal to me. Okay. We've talked about other teams and other places that are putting over 1,000 fans a game. That's great. Good for them. But our stadium holds 350 fans as the capacity for Dot Hicks Field. And I was watching the stream on ESPN Plus. All around the outfield, just full of camping chairs, people standing, people watching. Behind, I know you saw they posted a video, and I took a still shot of the video. That great photo with the packed crowd behind the players looking into the stands. What a great shot, man. I mean, think about where we are now versus where we were maybe just 2 years ago, or even a little bit to a certain degree last year. The attendance is seemingly way up at Dot Hicks Field, and we've talked about that numerous times. Every time we get an opportunity to talk to Megan, we get to talk to Corey, as the first thing they say. That's the biggest thing you can do to help our program. Come and watch us play.
Yeah.
And I noticed out there's some bleachers in the outfield now. They've got a little bit of extra seating going on. So when these bigger, whatever you want to call finger quotes, bigger series happen, I don't give a rip who we're playing. You should be going to watch the Herd play, right? We say that about just about everybody. But there's now plenty of seats to be had. I mean, the official capacity is probably now higher with those bleachers out there, but still.
Before you go on, this is about attendance, so I want to put it here.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that Saturday's game was a 10 a.m. game,
right.
And it was up against Huntington's leagues of opening day. You had kid play in that. You know how big of a deal that is. All the parents and kids that would normally be at a game like this were over there. You had t-ball, little league, softball opening day. Also the same in Barbersville. Yep. So both of those, you're competing on a 10 a.m., which was it turned out to be a gorgeous day, but upwards of 60-mile-an-hour winds in the areas around us on Saturday. A windy game and going up against T-ball. So to get near 400 people for that early of a game and going up against that while these games are being played for T-ball and all that's impressive.
It's a big deal, right? Because I know firsthand, and I know you know a little bit also, but baseball, T-ball, that type of stuff in Huntington and Barbersville is huge, and it's always going to be a huge draw. So to be able to still put those type of numbers, look at over 600. That's I appreciate. Thank you for Herd fans for coming out and supporting this team. I hope you continue to go, even if somebody happens to catch them slipping a little bit and the win streak comes to an end. You shouldn't just start staying at home now because they're great. They're great. But look, let's talk about the weekend series. Game 1 of the series, 6-1. You mentioned it, Sid Nestor in the circle. Complete game 1 hitter, 7K. Stop me if you've heard this before. 17-2 up to that point on the season. Sid Bickle, 2 of 3 with a triple and 2 runs scored in that one. Grace Chelleman hits the home run, the big 3-run bomb, which I love that you pointed out that you walk Autumn Owen to get to Grace Chelleman, and she immediately makes you pay. Bold strategy, but we saw how that one played out. Cam Hollis, another home run in short fashion, number 2 on the season. And Alex Coleman tallies yet another stolen base in the game. Game 2 was a 5-1 win. Savannah Rice and Bree Godfrey split duty in the circle for that one. Savannah gets the win. 4 innings pitched, 5 hits, 2 Ks, and 1 earned run. Now 8-0 on the season for Savannah Rice. Bree Godfrey, 3 innings pitched with a hit and 2 Ks. She gets the save. Autumn Owen goes 2 for 4 in that one with a double and an RBI. Grace 2 for 4 with an RBI and 2 stolen bases in that one. Lauren Love busting out the biceps and taking one out of the yard, goes 2 for 2 with a solo home run. And yes, Alex Coleman with yet another stolen base to extend her conference league lead. Game 3. Guess who's back in the circle? The smoking gun, Sid Nestor. 6-0 victory. Complete game 5 hitter. 10 Ks. Stop me if you've heard that one. 0 runs allowed, obviously. 18-2 on the season now at that point. So Sid Nestor's weekend reads 2-0, 12 innings pitched, 6 hits, 17 Ks, and no earned runs. Show me a better candidate for Sunbelt Pitcher of the Week. I don't know that there is one out there, and I don't know how it's just not like the Sid Nestor Sunbelt Pitcher of the Week award at this point. But for some crazy reason, she keeps getting shafted in this category despite going out there and just simply dominating. She got into a couple of jams in those games, and man, she just steps right in and mows down a few batters and gets out of the jam. Her command, I tweeted this, her command of the game is otherworldly at times. You know, she just doesn't get shaken, just keeps on fighting. A little jam here, a little base runner there, doesn't matter. Gets clutch strikeouts to end the innings a couple times. She's a big time player. In the finale, Autumn Owen goes 2 for 2 with a home run and a walk, an RBI, and two runs scored. Brooklyn Ulrich and Riley Lucas both go 1 for 3, both solo home runs. I think Riley Lucas at some point is going to put one through the Chris Klein Center front windows. It's just a matter of time. And Brooklyn, damn, dude. I mean, it must have been on the sweet spot because she got every freaking bit of that pitch. It was a no-doubter. And you could tell by her reaction. There were some great still photos that were circulating on the Herd Softball account. I may have never seen a larger smile in my life. The happiness that she had. I think that she was like maybe a little surprised that she sent that one out of the yard to the extent that it went out. You know, not that she hit a home run, but it was like, damn, I hit that one damn near to Barbersville type deal.
I will say that she has, I mean, all these ladies have tremendous reactions, you know,
Yeah.
to what they do during the game. And I don't mean like out of surprise. I mean like competitive reactions.
Yeah.
And she may have the most on like defense or offense or anything of just screaming out in joy in everything of getting out of jams, picking off runners. And she had a great in that game that I was at advancement going to home on that pass ball, not a pass ball from the pitcher, but it got past the defender when they were throwing it back in. And it was almost of like, should I go? Should I go? Should I go? And then the ball like gets away and it's squibbing into foul territory really slowly. And the catcher was the closest person to it. So as the catcher starts moving, she just took off.
Yeah.
And that scored, put us up 2-1. And then from there, you know, just open up the little mini floodgates that allows us to walk up 5-1, then 6-1 and get out of there with the victory.
See, that's what I was saying earlier. It's those little plays to where they will take advantage of you to get that extra insurance run that ultimately might take the edge off enough for everybody to start having just a tad little bit more fun, play a little bit looser, and the next thing you know, 4 runs go on the board and the floodgates are open.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the last few notes on this series finale. Sid Bickle may be the play of the day outside of these offensive home runs and stuff. And I tweeted that, you know, it was on another kind of hustle type play, and she slid in there, got under the tag to add an insurance run on for the Herd, and they put 2 on the board in that inning off of 2 infield hits and 2 hustle plays. That's honestly what it was. It was nothing else but effort. But she probably the coolest slide I've seen. You know, right? It was like no big deal to me because it was one of those just slide in, pop up, walk away. It was so cool, man. Like the swag level is kind of off the charts with this team, and it doesn't matter. I don't even think they're trying. I just think they got it. You know, I just think they have that little bit of swagger that you want to see, that you like to see in a really good, fun team. Abby Darnley gets into the game in that series finale. She's freshman, right? Eleanor, West Virginia, Buffalo High School comes in and almost takes it out of the yard. I mean, midway up the wall for a stand-up double.
One more bite of a protein bar in the morning, and that's gone.
Yeah. Yep. one more, and she's rounding them all. But that was great. Making the most of her opportunity, comes in and almost rips one out of the yard. And of course, Alex Coleman, another stolen base. So a stolen base in every single game in the series. She's leading the Sun Belt Conference in that category. She's, incrementally getting closer to that single season lead, but it's still quite a far ways away.
And
Alicia Durazio's
last week she was still winning or leading, I should say, in the nation. So we'll have to see when all those updated stats from the
right.
weekend come out to see how everybody is. But we'll definitely have that out on social media and that sort of thing.
Yeah, once everything gets tallied up, I wish they were, real time stuff, but I mean, they kind of are, but you got to wait for games to finish,
Yeah.
So, West Coast stuff is obviously going to take longer than East Coast stuff. But you mentioned it, ULM series coming up Thursday, Friday, Saturday affair. A little bit of a homecoming for Corey. I know he wants this one. You got to know that he wants this one. I mean, go in there and take care of business. Another series sweep would be so sweet. So there's no reason to think that it ain't going to happen because the herd's damn good. Last thing I want to say about softball is remember, a couple of weeks now away, green and white spring game weekend. We're going to be doing the tailgate on Sunday for the James Madison series I don't know if it'll be at the Dot. We're going to hope we can, but we're going to be doing a big tailgate as part of that weekend, and that's exclusively, a softball type deal. So make yourself available. Make sure you get over there on Sunday for the series finale against James Madison. It's going to be a great time. I can now say that I will make the trip. I've secured enough time off, and I get to take part in this festivity too. It's not like I'm a draw for the event, but I get to have fun with everybody. And that's the important part to me. So that's all I got for softball this week. They just continue to kill it, man. Rank the herd. Hashtag rank the herd. What the hell?
Yeah. Well, that does it for Around the Herd.
All right.
We'll have more as spring football goes on. We'll have more updates on that and add that to Around the Herd, or maybe even throw it in as a little feature. But right now, it's just getting started. Last week, had 3 practices. No real news to cover that's not out there everywhere in press conference interviews.
I mean, the only thing you can say is that they're now in pads. So we will start to see everything crank up to a different little bit of a level, but it's still spring ball. There's a long way to go. You got several weeks of jockeying for position and reps and this and that and everything else. And when they get into the meat and potatoes of spring practice, it's like we did last year. We'll have all that type of information and what we're seeing and what we're hearing and what we're kind of thinking. But right now, we're just taking baby steps. Coach has mentioned that he's liking what he's seeing. So, as we get to dive into the competition a little bit more, as that cranks up, then there will be more to talk about. But for right now, just happy to see the guys healthy and back at it. They look like they've been working hard in the weight room with BA. They look like they're ready to roll, and I'm here for it, man. I mean, I want football just like everybody else does, but I'm still also enjoying this ride that the softball team is laying on the fan base right now too. You got nothing else? Take us out of here.
Well, I got a little bit, and I just want to say that I was blessed to take my entire family to softball last Saturday, and my oldest daughter as a little reward for this Saturday. And last Saturday, we also went to volleyball. At that first game last Saturday, one of the recent graduates for volleyball, Caitlin Geller, was talking to my daughter named Caitlin at softball because she had on a softball camp t-shirt, and she really wanted to talk to her about that. And Caitlin is just right now in love with softball. We went to the softball match later on. Volleyball. Man, sorry.
You're confusing me.
Yeah, well, I'm confusing me, obviously. But we went to volleyball after that. We did not get to go because of our schedule to anything but that one softball game this week. But she got to meet some athletes. She got to talk briefly with some coaches and things like that, and just seeing the kids around this. If you have nothing to do and you have kids and they have nothing to do, get them over to one of these sporting events for Marshall. You'll have a great time because you love martial sports. They'll have a great time because it's something for them to do. And you never know how you're going to influence their love for martial at this time. We always joke and say bringing them up right.
Yeah.
But I mean, take them to a game. It might make their week, but it is definitely going to make them a herd fan because of the way that the athletes care about the kids. Yesterday at softball was Disney Day, and they had Disney song walk up songs. They had Disney songs playing in between innings and that sort of thing. All kinds of kids in the stands. It's just a fun atmosphere, not just for softball, but anywhere you can take them. But definitely these, if you've got young girls, take them to these women's sporting events. You won't be sorry, I'm telling you. And that's all I want to say about it is just take your kids over there, create new herd fans. We're going to need them in 15 to 30 years.
Well, hell, take everybody to these games.
Sure.
It's like, we've opened our own eyes and appreciation to a lot of our other sports that we just didn't pay attention to, and right or wrong or indifferent, it doesn't matter. We just didn't devote any time to it. And now we do. And just think of personally how our fandom and our experience has increased because we're paying closer attention and we're more familiar with more of our athletes across more of our sports. It's fun, man. It's fun. So you said if you've got nothing to do, if they've got nothing to do, well, then you have something to do. Because if there's a game on the schedule, you got something to do, and it's like free. So you're out of the house. It doesn't really cost you anything. You can have a good time. And these things don't last all day. So you can go do something and then go do whatever else you want to do. If you had to go to the store, well, go to the store 2 hours later. Who cares? Go have a little fun, get out of the house, do something, and then go take care of the weekend chores or whatever. But hey, I digress. Man, great week, killer week, but let's take it out of here.
All right. Whether you see us at the Cam, whether you see us at the Dot, whether you see us at Tampa, where KD is going to be blowing out his quad, running a 60, no matter where you see us, we're going to be saying, even if we're screaming in pain, go herd.
We're going to be writhing in pain. It's the ThunderCast. We'll see you next week. Later.